Good morning, students. Today we will see about what sampling and sampling process. Sampling is very important in our nursing to conduct any kind of a research, in fact. So, otherwise, the research is going to be very costly without sampling. The research cannot be conducted, best of all. Sampling is very essential and it should be cost effective. If you follow the correct sampling method, the time will be saved. In this class, we will see what is sample, why it is important, especially quantitative study. Sampling calculation is necessary. We are doing some sampling calculation with the previous study, isn't it? So, what is called sample? How I can collect the sample? What is sample? For example, sample means it's a process. Sampling means it's a process of selecting a portion of the population. This is a total population. Total individual in the community or the Vonda community or Bankura, where we are living currently. Now, this is the Bankura district. Now, West Bengal government, Mamta Didi is saying that you select some portion of the population in a Bankura district, do this particular study among the adolescents. So, Bankura district is having some lakhs of the population, right or not? So I am selecting a portion of the Bankura district population and I study that particular population, and this population represent the total population of the Bankura district. Clear? So the 1 lakh or for example 50 lakhs or 1 crore population is there, my sample will be within 120,000 or 10,000 samples of it will be representing the total Bankura of the adolescents, whatever the study they are telling me to do. So it is the process of selection of the portion of the population. That population represent the total population is called the sampling. Now you understand what is the essentiality of sampling and what is the importance of sampling. As a PG or UG students, you should know which sampling technique in the further coming I will be teaching you which will be better sampling this one. Okay. What is called the steps of sampling process? First, you define the population of concern, which population you are going to study, right? And specify the sampling frame. What is the frame? With this population, for example, BSc students are going to do the study among the your colleague or some other students or the diploma students or the school. What is the sampling frame? How am I going to select it in the random method? What I am going to select it, that sampling frame. Then you, from that sampling frame, you select the specific sampling method. Understand? So, I will discuss you separately what is called sampling method. First, you understand the process. Define the population. Which population you are going to study? What is your study population? And specify the sampling framing. And then specify the sampling methods. And determine the sample size. You can do the sample size calculation by the previous study. If I had anemia among the adolescents, the many anemia study might have conducted, and do the power analysis. Get to the sample size with the help of the statistician. Or you take a study and apply the formula. You calculate the sample size. Then you understand how much sample is necessary. Then implement the sampling plan. What plan you are going to implement, random table or whatever may be. And sampling and data collecting and reviewing the sampling process. Is it correct or not? You will be checking it. This is one overview of sampling process. What is the advantages of this sampling? As I told you in the beginning of my class, it's so economical, cost effective, increase the speed, it should be accurate, precise, it's rapport, and save times, save the products. So you are not wasting, isn't it? Then limitation. Limitations also there in a sampling. Sometimes bias, human error, entry bias, sample selection bias will be there, or researcher bias also will be there, maybe entering the data in a wrong manner. So some bias also should be, we have to overcome. In that we cannot avoid sampling, we have to overcome, remember these bias while you are doing, avoid these, overcome these limitations. You have to overcome what bias, why it is coming, is it where the bias can occur, you have to overcome as a researcher. Difficult to select the true representatives, isn't it? Sometimes I told you in the beginning of the class, like many samples I am collecting, I may, the one researcher cannot collect, maybe very people will be trained upon them and need specialized knowledge, and impossibility if the population is too small. If too small, bias too small, you cannot select sample. Very small students you cannot select it. And untrained manpower, if I train the people, somebody untrained also, we cannot select it. So this is the sampling process, defining the population and specify the sampling frame, and then specify the sampling method and determine the sample size and implement the sampling plan and sampling data collection and sampling process. What is the sampling method? Why the method is very important? Why? What is the sampling method? Is all the study are we using the sampling method? Is it, what is the difference between quantitative study and qualitative studies? Methods of sampling. Methods of sampling are broadly classified into probability sampling and non-probability sampling technique. Probability sampling is a simple random sampling, right or not? Simple random sampling. In that, two methods are there: lottery method, random sample method, random number method. Random number method, lottery method, if I flip the coin, if head is coming, the first person who is coming as considered as a head, the second one will be a tail. Then again flip the coin for the third person, if it's a tail, then the next person considered as a head. This is called the lottery method. Random number, maybe all the numbers will be present over in this, so randomly you mark, you take the randomly number, you do not know who is the name, then you will collect the number. Then stratified random number method, the samples are divided by some strata, some characteristics like male, female, or religion wise in a strata. So in that one strata will be there, and with the strata you will be collecting the sample. With the strata, with that will be there, and with the strata randomly you will be selecting. Then systematic random sampling. Systematic random sampling, for example, you need 1,000 population is there, you need 100 sample, then you do it. So within 10 numbers, within 10 number you select one number, maybe 9, then plus you add it 9 plus, or you select the number 5. So 5 will be your first sample, then another 1 plus 5 will be 10, 15, like that you can select it until you select it. So this is some systems we are following. This is systematic random sampling. Then multi-stage sampling. Multi-stage sampling in the sense, for example, if it is like multi-stage, like cancer, I can categorize in stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 and stage 4. Isn't it? I can categorize into and take it. So multi-stage. For example, government is giving me some fund to particularly for the people who are suffering from some of the disease or some of the TB. The child who is suffering from primary complex. I go to the school and select the children in primary complex. I can do the stages. So stage 1 I can do who are having a cough. I can sample it. All the children from cough will be the stage 1. Understand? Different stage. And stage 2, those children who are having cough selected and X-ray. Who are all the X-ray positive. Then stage 3, those who are X-ray positive, I can do the Montague's test. The Montague's test, PPD, purified protein derivatives, then it is positive. So it is a confirmative test I can do. Then this stage 4, this selected stage 3, this one is my sample. So the fund is allotted this many 5 lakhs been allotted for the primary schools around the Bangura district. I am not going to waste all primary school children giving them multivitamin or some supplement food or protein rich diet food or powder. I am going to supplement with 5 lakh rupees. I will select those curves, particularly I will spend for who is affected by the primary complex. Right or not? So I do in a stages based sampling I am doing. So it is called multi-stage sampling. What is this, madam? Multi-phase sampling. Mamta is giving me multi-stage sampling. He is giving me the fund or something, and she was telling me to implement throughout the Bankura district. So in the Bankura district, throughout, I will be seeing how many territories are there, and then how many in Bankura district, how many villages are there, and each villages in that how many streets are there. From the villages, in the streets, how many houses are there in each street. From this streets, each ekta, one street I take one house. One house I am taking. So this one house, I will select who is that one. I will be selecting the what is the fund is been allotted. So I am going to cover throughout the Bankura district. It is called multi-phase sampling technique. It is multi-phase 1 will be in a village level. Phase 2 will be in a another. If it is a West Bengal, you take it not a West Bengal. If it is West Bengal, many district level. Phase 1 will be district level. Bankura district, Bardhaman district. Many district will be coming in the West Bengal. From phase 1 will be the district level. From the district level to the village level. From the village level, from the household level. From the household, I select. So phase wise, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. So this is the technique I can use it for multi-phase sampling technique. Hope you understand. Next is what is called non-probability sampling technique. Mainly non-probability sampling technique, judgmental sampling. Mainly for my qualitative study. I am going to do some phenomenological study, or I am going to do some research upon some person, lived example of somebody who lived. Nobody identify him. He is a legendary man and something. I go to his village and I want to collect about the information about him. So I go to the area. I judge who is so talkative, who is my key element. I will select it. So that is called judgmental sampling technique. Convenient sampling technique, I feel that it is more convenient. Who will be answer my question. So this is more convenient about my place there. Then quota sampling technique. Quota. Like in the quota sampling technique, in the samples are divided into some stratas like a quotas. So what we will be doing it from that quota, you will be selecting the sample. For example, the women with the age group of this one, all the smokers with the age group of this one, this area. This from this quota, I will be selecting the sample. Snowball sampling technique. Snowball sampling technique usually will be identified to maintain by the CBCIDs to identify the culprits. For example, some mela is going on in Bangura district or in a Wanda. When the mela is going on, so many thief will be coming. So come to the area and they have chain snatch or do something. The police will be catching one person. From the one person, he will beat him and he will find out there will be a big gang. Not a one person will be involving in the any bravery like a thief and stealing or any activity. So from him, 3-4 will be coming into the chain to the CBCID, and from them one big gang they can identify. Then you can ask me, then madam, it is not in a healthcare example. Cannot we do it? Yes, in a healthcare setting also snowball sampling is very much useful. You remember when 2019, when the COVID was affected, they found out the sample who are coming from the airport, maybe escaped. By telling false positive or false negative, they may escaped from the airport, they come to the city. But vulnerable people, once it affected, they go to the doctor. And we were sitting and scrutinizing, asking them question to whom, where you met. Then from that affected person told me, no madam, I was at home only. But what happened? One of my vendor, one of the person come from my relative went to the foreign. Those person visited me. Then collecting those person. Hey, who come from the foreign? Then no, he came like that. From that, how it? So it will be like searching the sample continuously from one person to another person. It will be going on. So in a healthcare setting also we are using the snowball method of sampling. So you can have a question that sampling technique is going to be the same for all these methods. No, the sampling will be, there is a difference between the quantitative sampling study technique and the qualitative study. In a quantitative sampling method, this is relatively large sample. Relatively large. We sampling calculation with the previous study, power analysis we will do, and we will determine what is my sample size and what is the method, I will determine it. But in a qualitative, sample size are very, very small. It mainly employs statistics, as I told you, previous study, and use this statistical test to do the power analysis to find out this one. But here it does not employ any statistics. It's like an emerging sampling design, right? It is based on the probability theory. It is not based on any probability theory. The size of the sample is statistically determined. The size of the sample is not determined by statistically in a qualitative study. The sample size are fixed before the data collection, right? Here sample size will be fixed during the data collection, emerging sampling design. It involves in high cost, it involves in low cost, right? It is a time consuming, it is not much time consuming, right? It's representative of the population, it is not representative on population. I am going to select all the people may not know about the particular person, the legendary who died. Only the people who are living there nearby or some followers or somebody will be there. So I cannot select it in a qualitative study like phenomenology or feminist study grounded, anything I cannot do it. So it facilitates inductive generalizations and this facilitates the analytical generalizations. So this is the main difference between the quantitative and the qualitative sample. So sometimes nowadays currently we are doing a multi-design studies. So you can use the quantitative sampling technique. Also they can use their data, like how do their experience. For example, one time we have done a research like how the people been affected by the flood. In 2015 flood affected by Chennai. We collected the data from so many villages. What is their the flood affected, what is that? Then we took an interview, what and all the difficulties they have faced during that time. So we have quantitative sampling also. From the qualitative data we have collected by interviewing them. So it is called the multi-method study. Quantitative plus it's a current trend, it's an emerging trend, right or not? So but basically you understand that quantitative sampling and qualitative sampling. Sometimes in a multi-method study we use, from this study we collect some information, that's, you forget about it. But this is the most difference about the qualitative sampling technique, quantitative sampling technique. It's a large, already planned, statistically this one, it's all emerging, going, identifying the key element, select who will be fix it, conveniently you are doing it. So this is mainly sampling method. Sampling, this one will differ from the quantitative study and the qualitative study. Thank you.